Trading Time with your host, John Rousseau. Hi, I'm Endrene Shepard, producer of Trading Time. Today, our host, John Rousseau, sits down with Rod Kitt, a passionate advocate for the trades and former counselor at Southern Okanagan Secondary School. Together, John and Rod discuss the incredible opportunities in trades available to youth today and why they're so vital to our communities. Enjoy the episode.
Rod, thank you for joining us today.
Fantastic. Thanks for having me.
I'm excited to talk about the efforts that you're making to produce more tradespeople in our province. Why don't you give us a bit of an overview as to what you're working on these days and the importance of?
Absolutely. My job, well, it was a job. I've just recently retired, so I'm semi-retired. I'm just I'm dabbling in the retirement field. But what I'm doing right now is I'm helping our career coordinator kind of transition into taking on the responsibilities that fell on my portfolio. Under my guise as a work experience person, under the career coordinator for our district, where School District 53 is where I was, and Boyd Turnbull is now the new career coordinator. Our job is basically to get kids working, get them going on a pathway, get them started on something that they can do. And under the guise of the career coordinator role, we had a couple of programs that we run. We run Work Experience, which is a way for students to dabble, get themselves into an experience, into some type of a field where they can try it on. You know, when we talk to students, kids are always asked, what do you want to do when you grow up?
For the rest of your life.
For the rest of your life, you know, and that format has changed a little bit, but it's difficult for them to be able to answer that because how do they know? You know, I want to become a nurse. I want to become a doctor. I want to become a dental assistant. How do you know you want to do that? Many of us have been on the receiving ends of, say, some of those services, but you don't know what it's like to be on that side, whether you're on the side with the pliers and the things or whether you're doing the hair. So with Work Experience, that gives them a chance to try some things out and see what it's like. And we've had students that go out and they try a whole variety of those things. We've had students try, baking, and they're working in kitchens, they are working in auto shops, they're working in offices. And at the end of it, I want them to reflect on how was that experience? Not just the day-to-day tasks of doing laundry or doing your filing and things like that. Yeah. How was that experience? Can you picture yourself in that career? And if so, well, then great, do more of it. If at the end of that experience you evaluate it, you go, this is terrible, I don't want to do that, the last thing I want to do is that, then awesome, you've learned something and pick something else. Yeah. So that's a great way, I think, for students to get a chance to try different experiences out in terms of evaluating perhaps directions in work. The bigger pieces that we've been working on in our school district, as most school districts are, has to do with it's got to do with trades. And with the trades, we've got two primary programs that really refocus on. And I think the students really benefit from that. The first one is called Youth Work in Trades. And then the second one is called Youth Train in Trades. And the two go actually hand in hand. Youth Work in Trades is when a student gets hired as an apprentice. So they're getting paid for their work. Which is always a good thing. So now they're getting paid to go to school. And they get started on their trade, whatever that trade happens to be, whether that be carpenter, plumber, electrician, hairstylist, chef, all of those things. They get started working under a certified tradesperson. They start to accrue those hours. So they're doing this.
At what age?
They have to be, they can actually start at 15 years old.
Amazing.
But basically 16 years old is kind of where we start to look at things. We have students that are working, they're working a lot of times with families, their parents or uncles and aunts and things like that. They're tradespeople. And they get a jump start on their career. They get a jump start on their trade. So with any trade, there's two aspects. There's work-based training and there's technical training. Work-based training, there's a certain amount, and every trade is a little bit different, but there's a certain amount of hours that they have to accrue before they reach their certification.
On site.
On site, so that's working in the field. In the Youth Work and Trades program, they only have to get 480 hours, and that'll satisfy the Ministry of Education requirement. That doesn't satisfy, obviously, the trade requirement, but it gets them started, and it gets them towards their pathway. So 480 hours gets them the credit for 4 courses for youth work and trades. So youth work and trades gets them 4 courses at 4 credits each. So they get 16 credits towards their graduation. They've been paid for that work. And by that time, hopefully they've had a little bit of an experience, or at least, got their feet wet and started to feel what it's like to be in the trade. Some of those students do those work hours sometimes during the summertime, sometimes after school. We've had students work half-time. So say in one semester, they'll work the morning and then they'll come back to classes in the afternoon. We've had students work an entire semester and they are working in their auto shop or in the auto body shop or in a kitchen or on the construction site. And they're getting paid and they're getting 16 credits, which is 480 hours, which is 1 semester of work.
Yeah, amazing.
So that's the work piece. Obviously, they want to get more hours than that. And they have to carry on through that. Each trade is different, but usually each level is somewhere in around the 1,500 hour mark. So that 480 just gets them started. If they get more than that, then that's a fantastic way to go. There's an incentive from the Ministry of Education. It used to be if they had 900 hours recorded by the December after they graduate, they would get a $1,000 award. Now the Skilled Trades BC, who monitors that in partnership with the Ministry of Education, they give a scholarship for those students to reach those milestones. So if a student works
To continue their education and
Right.
get fully certified.
Yeah. So if a student gets 900 hours by the December after they graduate, and they keep they have to, I think, keep a C+ average, they can apply for a scholarship. They'll be eligible for a scholarship that they can use for post-secondary to carry on with their technical training. Cool. So it's a great way to start. And students are making money while they're doing it. So it's win-win for the student. They're getting paid. They're getting high school credit towards their graduation. They're getting paid to go to school.
Well, and they're useful right away in their field.
Absolutely.
Doing something. Do you know what I'm saying? Versus, let's say you were going into like the medical field or whatever else. Like think of how much time you're spending in a theoretical environment versus an in the field environment. Like, are you getting paid? There are a lot of discrepancies between those two. I grew up in an environment, and a lot of people did, where it's like, you go into the sciences, you go into medical, that's where you want to go. You go to university. Going into the trades, you're making money, you're making bank right now. Mm-hmm. You're useful right now, doing something.
Right out of the gate. And you said something interesting there. They have to be useful. And so what's interesting, different trades have different, I guess, definitions of usefulness. So if we take a look at, and I'm going to oversimplify some things. So if we look, say, at becoming a chef, so a professional cook, mm-hmm. with some basic knife skill training skills, a student can be of use to the chef and the restaurant
immediately
by doing some prep, doing some, peeling and those kinds of things. They are of value to the tradesperson. Yeah. They're of value to the industry. Not all trades are like that. Some trades are slightly more technical. Some trades require a skill set that maybe those students don't necessarily have. And the way I like to explain is I'll talk to kids will come into my office and they'll say, I want to become an electrician. It's like, perfect. Maybe, and I use the analogy like this. I'm the electrician. Kid comes knocking on my door. Will you hire me as an apprentice? My question of the student will very simply be, what do you know about being an electrician? If the student says nothing other than maybe I bring a good work ethic, as an employer, I may say, okay, you know what? I can teach this kid some stuff and maybe he'll become useful for me as a business. If I'm too busy to train, if I'm too polarized, if I've got too many things going on, I may not have the time to train as well. I would say, you know what, kid, I don't have time for you. I have to pay you. If you know nothing about my particular trade, you don't bring value to me. Yeah. Come back when you learn something. So then that's the second option under train and trades. What students can do is they can enroll in they can apply to the college. Our local college is Okanagan College. We're here in the Okanagan, so that's our closest training provider. We're not married to Okanagan College. We have various students that go to BCIT, UFV. They're scattered all over the place. But that student can enroll in a foundation program, and that foundation program, depending on the program, ranges in length of time from 24 to 28 weeks, plus or minus. And during that time, they take students that know very little about that particular trade, and they teach them all of the basics right from ground zero.
That's great.
They teach them all the safety, the tools, and all of the things related to that. As well, as part of that foundation program, they teach them all the skills that are required for the level 1 technical training of that particular trade. So if we stick with the electrician analogy, they'll start with hand tools, they'll start with safety, they'll do those things. And over the course of that semester, being 26 or 28 weeks long, by the end of it, they will know all of the aspects. They'll have all of the technical training that is required for the level 1 technical training for the electrical program. So as I said earlier, there's 2 aspects. There's work-based training, there's technical training. Doesn't matter which one comes first. So if a student does the foundation program at the college, they learn all of the necessary skills that are required to be successful in the field. So they're getting some of the theory. They also do some shop experience in there. They have some on-tools time at the college. At the end of that time period, they now, if they've passed it to the 70% that they're supposed to, that's required by the college, they now have their technical training aspect for that particular trade. So if we go back to the analogy where I've got an electrical company,
Yes.
and the student comes to me and says, I want to become an electrician, my question will still be the same. What do you know about being an electrician? Now this student holds up this certificate. I have completed my level 1 technical training. I know these wiring, I can do this. And so,
Basic knife skills.
yeah, basic knife skills.
Yeah.
As a result, though, now as the employer, as the potential employer, this student brings value to my company, and I'm willing to hire him as an apprentice, which then is the work-based training. And so that's what happens in terms of the trade part.
That's great.
It's a great way for students to get started in trades that are either they may not have an opportunity to get hired locally, or they can go to school and they do their technical training first.
And the last discussion that we just had with some guests focused around some of these trades having mandatory certification. So a trade like an electrician, you're going to need to know those things. This is critical that you know this. Walking into a place that isn't owned by your uncle and saying, hire me to be, you're probably going to want that.
Yeah. And all of the trades require some skills. Like everything, there's technical training, there's aspects that have to be completed as a result of Skilled Trades BC. Skilled Trades BC is the governing body for all trades in British Columbia. And they dictate, these are the skills, these are the concepts, this is the areas of knowledge that you have to have in each of these levels of these particular trades. And for a student to do that while they take a training trades program or like a foundation program at high school, at the college, that's the best way to do it. Yeah. Because now these students, what we're getting these students that, if we think about the timing, a semester of high school is about 20 weeks. A semester of a foundation program, depending on the program, is about 24 to 26 weeks, 28 weeks, depending on the trade. Mm-hmm. So what ends up happening is that what these students do is they take a semester away from high school. They leave high school. And they go to college, any of the colleges that offer the foundation programs. And again, Okanagan College is our closest training provider, but we're not married to them. They can take this semester of high school. The school district pays the tuition for that particular student for that foundation program. The student gets credits for high school for taking that college program. And they get credits from the college for the foundation program because now they've completed this foundation program and that gets them the technical training. So it's not uncommon for these students, if they take a semester, on average, I'm not going to go through every single trade, but on average, students will get 8 courses worth of high school courses by taking one semester of college, taking one semester of a foundation program at a college where the school district pays the tuition. Yeah. And now this kid gets 32 credits from the college towards their high school career.
Amazing.
So the best part of it is these kids are graduating high school as a level 1 carpenter, plumber, electrician, hairstylist, chef, all of those kinds of things. They've got a jump start on their trade. They've got a jump start on their career. So instead of saying, gee, I wonder what I'm going to do after high school, we have students that when they graduate high school, they've completed they're completing their college program maybe 2 weeks later, maybe 3 weeks later, depending on if it's in the second semester.
Yeah.
We do have some students that complete their foundation program, if that's something that works based on scheduling, in the first semester, which is kind of weird. We've had students that are in grade 12 in the first semester of their high school, of their last year of grade 12. They go to college, they take a college program, they're in college, they're treated like adults, and then they come back for the second semester to finish their English and any other courses so they can meet their graduation requirements.
Interesting.
But it's a fantastic way for students to get a jump start. And when we see them being successful in their career, it's extremely satisfying, extremely motivating for me as an educator, and I think for the system. It's great to see students succeed in their particular career.
This sounds European to me. They do this in Europe. They do this in Germany and Switzerland and probably lots of other countries over in Europe. They separate the people that are really good with their hands and not so academically orientated earlier, and do exactly as you proposed. Is this sort of moving towards that system? Do you see that kind of happening more?
I've heard parallels to that. I've never looked at the educational system in Germany and some of the other European countries, but I've heard of that exact same thing. It's funny in North America, and I've been doing this for a long time. If we take a look back, prior to being the career coordinator, I was a high school counselor for probably 15 years. So the last 27, 28 years of my career, it's always been helping students figure out a pathway and figure out where they want to go and getting them started on a pathway. It doesn't have to be forever, because if you change your mind and do something else. It's my career counseling advice is really quite simple. Find something you like. If you like it, do more of it. If you don't like it, change your mind, do something else. It's really, it doesn't have to go into very much more depth beyond that.
And that's something that's applicable for your whole life.
Yeah, if you like
it
it, do more of it.
It works for kids, it works for adults.
It does. It's sort of if you like it, do more. If you don't, do something else. But historically, when we take a look at talking to students about career pathways, and when we talk about where you want to go, what are you going to be? The age-old question that parents and grandparents have always asked kids forever and ever. What are you going to be when you grow up? We can use programs like work experience they can dabble in those kinds of areas. But where I've seen a big evolution, and something that I've been working towards, and it's funny when you get the parents, and parents just know what they know, and they sometimes don't know what they don't know. But so many times kids have been told way back, I know when I was going to high school, we were always told in my generation, you got to go to university to get a good job. If you want a good job, you have to go to university. Yeah. And it was those who can go to university, those that can't do the academics, well, you go do trades. Well, I think things have changed significantly. I think if we take a look at many of the trades, they're becoming so much more, technology related and dependent. Mm-hmm. We're utilizing technology, we're utilizing computers, we're utilizing the knowledge base for many of the trades is so high, you have to have that academic ability as well. I'll use the auto service tech as the example.
That's a good example.
Auto service technician, it's not a mechanic. The term mechanic that's an obsolete term. It's an auto service technician. When you take your car into the shop, the first thing they do is they hook it up to the scanner. And now you're dealing with codes, and you're dealing with the electronic information that the computer in the car is telling you. Yeah. So the requirements to be able to be successful in that field are not just the ability to turn wrenches and check oil. Now you're dealing with technology. There's a whole bunch of technological requirements that you have to be able to be successful in that business. Yeah. Reading blueprints, like all of those things. So, to get a good job, you have to go to university to get a good job. And I tell students, guess what? That's not true. It is a lie. It's not a lie on purpose, but it's just not true. Because I think the trades are a pathway that is extremely lucrative.
Mm-hmm.
You could be working in the field. You can be starting as your apprenticeship while you're in high school, which carries on through. You're making money while right out of the gate. The length of time that you have to go do your technical training is significantly shorter. Most trades, their technical training periods are 8 to 10 weeks per level.
Yes.
Versus, 4 years of dedicated university before
Four,
five or
five,
more.
5, 6, 7. What
Yeah.
are we trying to be here?
Yeah. And when you take a look at like degrees, I met a young fella the other day and he just finished his psychology degree.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking, that's good for you. So what's that going to get you? And he says, well, that gets me into my master's degree.
That's right.
So that the bachelor's degree gets you into the next degree. When I talk to students about career pathways and career planning, I say, don't look at the title as the end result. Look at the occupation. So if you want to be a psychologist, if you want to be a counselor, I've got 2 degrees. I've got a Bachelor of Education. I've got a Master of Arts in Counseling. So I was a counselor. So in order to do my job as a counselor, I have to have those 2 degrees. Mm-hmm. If you want to be a dentist, you have to have a Bachelor of Science, and then you have to be a Doctor of Dentistry. If you want to be in business, you don't necessarily have to have a degree. You have to have some skills. You have to have some knowledge, but you don't necessarily need that degree. There's many, many programs that will get you to be successful in that particular pathway without a degree.
Yes.
And the trades, if you want to be a carpenter, don't get a degree. And when we take a look at the labor markets, we take a look at where things are going and the need, when we take a look at the number of people in the trades that are facing and nearing retirement, I'm of that ilk where there's a lot of tradespeople my age.
Oh yeah.
And they are looking at retiring, and which is what I highly recommend retiring, by the way. It's better than work. But there's a lot of them that are doing it. And who's replacing them? There's a big void. And I think we as an educational system, I think we have an obligation to show kids the pathways that not only, maybe satisfy their parents' requirements and their parents' goals about, you need to be a doctor or a lawyer, mm-hmm. but I think we have an obligation to the students to say, you know what? You want to be a carpenter? This is an example. And there are pathways to become a carpenter. And these are the types of occupations and these are the types of people mm-hmm. that are carpenters that have branched off and they've either, added or done bits and pieces in their particular career to be very successful. And I think that's one of the things that we try to do. Sometimes it's a struggle because you're fighting and combating that age-old phrase, you got to go to university to get a good job. But that's not true.
I wonder who came up with that phrase. Do you think the people trying to sell those courses might have come up with that phrase?
I don't know. And
made them popular, popularized them?
If we go back, maybe 30 years ago, I think the discrepancy may have been there. I think if you had the degree, you did get a better paying job. I think if we look back historically, right. I think some of those professional careers, some of those careers that required that degree may have paid more.
Right. Versus like the average, because that's always one of those things where it's like, oh, this is the national average of what you can expect to make as a carpenter, and then you look at that number and you're like, the carpenters make way more money than that. Yeah. Right? Like, I don't know any carpenters that are working for that amount of money that know what they're doing. Yeah. Right. So has it ever really been the case, or were we just lied to?
That's a good question. I don't know. Like, I know when I went to university, that seemed to be the concept you had to get that good job, that I guess status kind of a job, you had to go to university. And I think it also depends on where the family comes from and the family background, family dynamics. When we look at families where it's predominantly professional families, mm-hmm. where they've got degrees, where both parents have a degree, more often than not, the students tend to stay in that general field and they'll go towards a degree-oriented job.
Yes.
When both parents are, maybe one person is a tradesperson and they do some other things, I think kids are a little bit more open, and maybe the discussion around the home is a little bit more open. Yeah. I've got a story that goes back a number of years ago, and it was a couple, and a lovely family, fantastic people, and they're good friends of ours, both professionals. And their son wanted to become a helicopter mechanic. Well, the mother was just, she was beside herself when he came home and said, I want to become a helicopter mechanic.
Yeah.
And then he ended up taking the training trades program. He went to Okanagan College.
Good for him.
He took the aircraft maintenance engineer program while in high school, and that carried on through for a 2-year program. And it took her a while to wrap her head around the fact that her son is not going to follow in her footsteps about this professional university career, but it took her a while to get to swallow where he's, you know what, he's going to become a helicopter mechanic, and he's a very successful helicopter mechanic right now.
Yeah. And probably making more money than a dentist or a doctor.
Yeah, like they do well. They do very well.
Yeah.
And it's I don't know where it comes from, but I do know that over the years, both as a counselor and as the career coordinator, I've made it a point, and it's been one of my goals, to try to reframe that and try to demonstrate some of the, the positives about the trades. And it's not just, dirty, and it's not just getting greasy and all those other things. There are many aspects of the trades that I think that people can find appealing, and let the kids make their own mind. But the market right now, a Bachelor of Arts degree doesn't pay too many bills unless you're working, at a retail job, entry-level job. Because for many of those degrees, it doesn't pay. It doesn't get you into a career. But some of them do. Like a Bachelor of Education gets you to become a teacher. Mm-hmm. But a Bachelor of Arts doesn't get you to become a teacher. It gets you into your next degree. So I think it's important for students to understand that there are many, many options and many, many opportunities out there. And when you look at the financial one, I remember I saw a little chart once that showed, it was comparing the cost of education of a degree. So when you take a look at the cost of education right now, a degree program, depending on where you go, let's average it out to say $20,000 a year. So you're going to pay between tuition, books, living expenses, you're paying $20,000 a year for a university degree. When we look at trades programs, you're going to school for 8 weeks on average for each of those particular levels. So you go to school for 8 weeks instead of 40 weeks.
Yes.
During that 8-week time span, your tuition, if we use Okanagan College tuition for most of their apprenticeship levels, probably average around $1,000.
See, that's unbelievably low.
Yeah.
How can they offer something for that low of a cost? It's unbelievable.
It's from a balance sheet point of view, it's fabulous for the kids. They don't pay that much money.
No, it's great.
And so you're only out of the workforce for 8 weeks out of the year versus 40 weeks when you take a look at or 35 weeks for a university type of a program. You're out of the workforce for 8 weeks. So then you're back working and earning the rest of that time span. So when you take a look at the number of dollars that you would have to pay for tuition for a degree, versus the levels, different levels in trades programs, you're out of the workforce for significantly longer in a degree program.
Not being productive, not being useful.
Yeah.
Yes.
And in a trades program, you're back in the workforce. You're back learning on the job, because that's by definition, that's what apprenticeship is. It's learning under a journeyman. And so it's, even though you're getting paid to work, it's also learning and it's also training. So I think it's a fabulous way to look at it.
One thing that you haven't pointed out that I think gets missed in all of this is like, it costs you $20,000 to do that, but how many students do you know have that sitting in cash?
Well,
ready to deploy, like, it's going to cost $20,000 this year to go to school. I've got that. No, you've probably taken out a student loan at interest. So it's not going to cost you $20,000 a year. It's actually more than that.
Absolutely.
And not to mention, let's say you go to school for that degree program. It's 4 years. And then as you've alluded to, well, now it gets me into my master's program or my PhD or whatever. It's like 7, 8 years. And those programs that are higher up, they're more expensive.
Yes, they are.
So how much debt could you potentially rack up doing a master's program or a PhD?
Well, I know people have gone on to medical school, and I've heard the number that medical school in of itself is about 200 to 250,000.
Unbelievable.
Even if we look at an undergrad degree, like an undergraduate degree, if we take a look at in British Columbia, the average undergrad degree is 4 years long. So you've paid, if we average out your expenses, we take a look, 4 years times 20,000, you're into your bachelor's degree for $80,000. 4 levels of carpentry. So if it's carpenters where you are, 4 levels of carpentry. Each level is about $1,000, $1,112, depending on what every program's a little bit different. Yeah. It's about $1,000. So you're into it for $4,000 of tuition. Yes, you have to pay for living expenses for those 2 months while you're at school.
Yeah, you'd be doing that no matter what you were in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, I think for each year, when you take a look at a trades program, $1,000 for tuition, maybe $3,000 in terms of rent. Call your expenses $5,000 for everything.
Yeah.
Per year. So at the end of that 4-year time span, instead of $80,000 in debt, you're now, call it $8,000. So call by 4, you're 32. That's it. Yeah. Versus 80. And
not only that, but you had the ability to make money to pay that off. And from what I've heard from previous guests, scholarship opportunities are easy to come by as well for tuition and other, because these trade networks or unions or whatever are realizing that they need to start investing in the education program to get these workers to market in order to keep their businesses running.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the market. When we look at labor and people that are in the labor, people that are working in the field, they see it right now when more and more people are looking at the exit ramp for their particular trade, and they're looking in the rearview mirror going, who's going to carry on? Who's going to carry on with my business? And who's going to carry on, whether it be carpentry and it's, I think that we're going to be, we've seen this, this trend building, I think, quite a bit lately.
Yes.
And we've seen this trend say, well, we're going to be short tradespeople. We're going to be short tradespeople. And I think now we're short tradespeople because if you try as a homeowner, as a consumer, for me to phone an electrician, to phone a plumber, my guys are actually pretty good. I do have plumbers, electricians come pretty quickly because they went through my program and I got them started in their trade, so they feel an obligation.
No, since they were this big. Yeah.
So they've got an obligation. But I hear people that go, they phone a plumber and you can't get one for 2 weeks. Getting an electrician will talk to me later on, talk to me in a month. We were visiting some friends in the summertime during the peak of the heat, and their air conditioner, their air conditioner in their house broke down. Phoning these HVAC people, saying, "Can you come and fix the air conditioner? We'll talk to you in August." Yeah. And this was in early July when this thing was broken, when the air conditioner was broken, and they were talking 6 weeks later. Yeah, right. So I think everybody has those types of stories where they've tried to get a tradesperson to get something in, to get something fixed, get something built, get something repaired, and they're just shocked by the time delay.
Well, a lot of it has to do with, I know in our industry, it has to do with priority of work. Like we have clients that want things from us. That's great that you want this from us, but are you a repeat client? Is this an occupancy related thing versus something that's just like a leisure product for you? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's very easy to all of a sudden find a hierarchy of work. You're like, well, we're not doing that job. We're not doing that job. We have, a sixplex for a repeat client who has 3 other sixplexes coming up for us. We're going to do his HVAC work first before we start doing maintenance work. And nobody understands how important plumbing is until it doesn't work.
Oh, got that right.
Or heating and cooling, right? And there you go. It's like, well, how important are plumbers? Well, they're very important, and we need more of them.
Yeah.
And I think, as you've alluded to, we are getting to that point as a country, and realizing that. I hope that we are able to allocate more funds to training and programs like yours.
Yeah. It's been really rewarding because I see these kids, I see students that sometimes they may not be the greatest in terms of an academic
Yeah.
student. It's not saying that they're struggling, but from demonstrating their academic ability in a four-walled brick and mortar school may not fit their academic ability. Put that kid in a welding shop, put that kid in a heavy duty shop where they're now in their element, so they can demonstrate their academic prowess, they can demonstrate their skill set, not in a four-room
Yes.
brick and walled school, but they can demonstrate it working on a car, working on a truck, welding something. I did a thing a number of years ago, and it was kind of funny. I'll tell the story. It was a Pro D day. So as teachers, we have to do Pro D, and we do a variety of things, and we learn and we develop. So I did this thing called Be Rod for a day, and this program, what I did was my goal, because I had a chance to see students demonstrate success at the college level. Some of these kids who may not have had a great track record in the high school,
Right.
but I see them in the college, and they're just rock stars. So I did Be Rod for a day, and I opened it up, and I took about a dozen teachers to Okanagan College, and they were just regular classroom teachers, that social studies and English and all of those kinds of things like that. And we went up to the college. I gave them all name tags that said Rod on them, so they all walked in. And we did a bit of a tour of the facility. We walked through the shops, and we saw these kids in action. We were able to see these kids cooking. We were able to see these kids. And many of these, the parents, the teachers, they had a picture in their head about what some of these kids were like in school. They had an image of what the student looked like in their social studies class, in their English class. Yes. And they had this picture. And then they went to the college, and they would see this kid demonstrating great degree of success in their particular program. And happy. And we look at their marks. The instructors say, yeah, here's their marks. They're rock stars. And they're high school kids. In college programs, they're just in their element. So instead of the old adage, those who can should go to university, those that can't do trades, what these teachers were able to see, they were able to see these kids that, maybe they couldn't do as well in some of their academic stuff, which is not all of them. We have, like, the helicopter mechanic kid, he could have gone into sciences. His marks were spectacular. Yeah. He just chose that pathway. But what's fascinating is these teachers had a chance to see these kids demonstrate really high degrees of success.
Amazing.
In their trade program. And at the end of it, it was fascinating. It was really inspirational, because what they were able to be now in the regular high school is they were able to see, now they have a picture in their head about what this kid can do. They have a picture in this head what these high school kids can do. So in their informal conversations with students in and around their classroom, and they're talking to them about, what do you want to do? What do you want to be? Kid says, oh, maybe I think about mechanic. You need to go see the career guide, because you can go there. They may not know the programs, but they're real good advocates for helping promote those
really
kids.
Helpful.
And it was an interesting way to do it, to get more adults on the side of, let's see these kids demonstrate success. Where can they demonstrate success? We've got some phenomenal welders, cooks, plumbers, you name it, in all of those trades.
All integral people in the community.
Absolutely.
You think about, is there such thing as a community without plumbers and automotive technicians?
Yeah.
No, there isn't. You don't have anywhere to live or sleep, or you're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
These people are as important as our scientists and doctors and everything else. Yeah. So that is really great that there hopefully is a bit of a shift in the awareness of the importance. That's great.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay. So where are we falling short in these programs, and what could we potentially be doing more as a country or a province or district in order to bring more awareness to this? What are some of the things that we could improve on in this aspect?
I think we just have to have open dialogue with all of the stakeholders. I think we have to raise awareness on the benefits of trades for students. We have to raise awareness of benefit trades to parents, because the students are sometimes getting, they get the ideological beliefs and morals from parents. Those parental discussions that happen at those family discussions that happen at home. We need to show parents this is a value pathway, and having dialogue and having information nights, bringing people out to look at these programs, having those discussions, I think is the way to go. I think the school districts they all have career coordinators, and it's a mandate for us people. Yes. We recognize it. We see that. So we're in classrooms all the time talking to students. We're talking to parents at parent-teacher nights and all of those kinds of things that still occur. We do forums. We do public forums. We invite people in to watch forums. We've had panels of people talking about their post-secondary success. I think getting students to try to connect those dots to meaningful pathways and showing them the trades is definitely one of them. That's our work. That's what we do. It's kept me employed. It's good, and it's grown. I'm proud to say that in our school district, we've grown exponentially over the years. When I got into the career program, we had one training trade student. That was 14 years ago.
One student.
We had one student in a training trades program that was taking college. And this year alone, I believe we're going to have 25 or 26 in our little school district.
That's great.
So we've grown immensely through the work of the counselors and the career teachers, the CLE teachers and the CLC teachers, and having even some of those informal dialogues, because I think it's really important to be able to see that and put value on those things, and to try to change that mindset of those who can go to university, those that can't go to trades. No, hold on here. I think we have to erase that. I think we're getting closer. Yeah. I really do.
So when I went to school, there were lots of shop classes, welding classes, culinary arts, woodworking, all that stuff. Are you seeing those shops and programs ramping down in I guess what would be 8 to 12?
In our school district, no. Actually, our shop courses are growing.
That's great.
Our shop courses enrollment is increasing. Some of what we do with our students at the younger grades. So we've done a couple of programs within our high schools and including the elementary schools. So we do this thing with the elementary kids where we do try a trade. We bring them in for one day. And we bring these kids in and they build some things with their hands. They do some carpentry projects. They do some electrical projects. They do some welding projects. And it's a fantastic opportunity for those kids. So we catch them in grade 5 and grade 6 and we demonstrate, here, try this. So we get some fantastic shop teachers and other volunteers, and we get these grade 5 and grade 6 kids together and they start building things. Yeah, and at the end of it, they have a great experience. And then so they take these shop courses in grade 8. One of our programs that we do in our school district, it's similar to what I think they do with at Okanagan College, what's called the Jill of all trades. We have a women in trades boot camp. And what we do is we take grade 10 girls or those that are underrepresented in many of the trades. And over 2 days, we expose them to a variety of different trades. Over 2 days, they build a bench. They cut out some letters out of a CNC a plasma cutter. Mm-hmm. They weld those letters onto like a little name bar. They do electrical and they do some sheet metal types of projects.
Right.
So we take these girls who are, again, if we think about some of the stereotypes, boys do trades, girls do something else. Mm-hmm. We're trying to break those barriers down a little bit and say, you know what? No, you can do these things. And, in many of the trades, a lot of the construction related trades, there's fewer women, but there's more that are coming in. There's fewer people that are underrepresented in terms of how they identify. There's fewer of people that are in construction trades. We try to invite them in. We'll give them a 2-day positive experience. And at the end of it, we evaluate it. If you like it, do more. If you don't, change your mind. We bring in role models. We've got a girl who graduated from our high school a number of years ago, and she loved welding, and she became a welder.
Good for her.
on a metal fabricator. And she lives in Kamloops, and she volunteers her time. She drives down and is a mentor, and she runs the welding portion of our Women of Trades boot camp out of her own time. So she shuts her shop down. Because she sees the value in it. And because it's easy for me to say to girls you know what, this is it's a good career for you. If you like it, do it.
Yeah.
I'm still the guy trying to tell her that. But when we bring in this woman who is very successful, she's had a wonderful career in terms of welding and metal fab, and it's carried on into television. She was on Rust Valley Restorers. She was on this Hot Wheels show. So she's got experience in the field, and then kind of branched off into television and some of the reality shows. So she's a mentor. And these girls can look at her and they'll say, I want to do that.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, in school, kids don't always listen to what the teachers say. Kids don't always listen to presentations. They don't always listen to what happens.
Oh, and a lot of times, you could probably agree with this, is they don't know where the information they're learning now can take them.
Absolutely.
Right? So they're like, why do I have to pay attention to this right now?
But then when they see somebody that they can identify as a mentor.
Yes.
And they can go, oh, I want to do what he did. I want to do what she did. Yeah. That's where our program, and that's where our training trades program has grown so much. They don't necessarily recognize the names. They don't necessarily recognize the title of the programs, but they know of a student who went on to become a welder. They know of a student who went on to become a chef. They know of a student who went on to become a metal fabricator. Mm-hmm. And when I bring this woman in now as that mentor for these girls, they look at her, they go, well, if she did it, I can do that. Yeah. And I think, we do all of those things to try to bring the people that are successful in their particular trade. Let's use them here's an example. This is what they do. Tell your story. And they tell their story while they're working with the kids. It's a fantastic motivator.
That's really great. How can people, I hate to rely on government funded facilities to take care of all of our needs. So if people wanted to help and contribute, how are they able to help and contribute with the growth of this program? And do you have supporters and people who donate?
Yeah, we do. I think probably the easiest way, there's a couple of ways. The biggest one is, if there are skilled tradespeople out there, bring these young people in and hire them as youth apprentices. Let them learn, from the ground up. Yeah. And we had a group of students who were in what was called a Gateway to Trades program, and we exposed them. We gave them some exposure to a variety of trades. And they tried everything from carpentry to plumbing to electrical. And we also took them to places to see, let's open up your eyes. Let's see what's out there. And we took them to a fabulous shop that builds truck axles. And they ship these truck axles all over the world. Yeah. And it's based in Coston of all those places.
Unbelievable.
Didn't even know anything about it.
Crazy?
And it was astounding. I drive by it, or I ride my motorbike by there all the time, and it was fabulous. And so the owner and the manager of the shop opened up the doors and took us on a tour, and it gave these kids a bit of an insight of some of the occupations and some of the jobs related to working on this truck axle plant. Mm-hmm. Things I didn't even know about. And in terms of the technological aspects, some of the CNC machines that they're utilizing, and it's high tech, yes. Really high tech.
Well, it has to be.
It has to, to be, to
be competitive and keep up with other people that are doing the same thing. It has to be.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think, that's probably the biggest thing. Government programs, Skilled Trades BC really supports trades. They do a great job, and they're the governing body that governs trades, and they do a great job of supporting youth trades programs. They're fantastic. They throw dollars at us based on our budgets and based on our predictions in terms of every program, and they want us as educators to get kids going, ranging from elementary age school events, trades events, all the way up through to train and trades. So there's many, many opportunities within the school system that are mostly funded, partially funded, really well supported by Skilled Trades BC.
Great.
So they do more than just deal with apprentices and apprentice advisors. They're very, very active in the youth sector, extremely active in the youth sector. So
I see a perfect storm brewing, and I want to share with you and get your thoughts on it. We have a very large demographic of people that you've pointed out are getting ready to retire. You're part of this demographic. They're also our largest skilled demographic in human history. They're also going to, you touched on this as well, be requiring services, a lot of them, because you never know. They might want to build a new house to retire in or whatever else, right?
Yeah.
So not only have they taken themselves out of the job market, but they're also putting strain on that market with their service demands. So I wonder if this would be the time to have more private sponsorship and maybe scholarship programs that people retiring out of the trades could look at it and go, well, if we ever want to consume the services that we were used to supplying to the community, we should probably do our part to pay back into the program, pay it forward, and get some of these kids trained up, as you've alluded to. I would love to see industry step up and start putting more money into the building of our trades pool. And I'm just wondering if you have any more thoughts on that, if you've heard anybody talk about this and the importance of that.
Well, it's ironic that you bring this up, because one of my other roles, I sit on a board. I sit on the Southern Okanagan Secondary School Enrichment Society. And so we are a nonprofit society, and what we do is we've done some fundraising, and we do things where our goal is to give out scholarships for students.
Yes.
When I look at the number of scholarships that are out there, there's some scholarships where the donor, they dictate the criteria for the student that should be eligible. So we have some scholarships are specific for students that are going into the medical profession, some students that are going to go be in the art world. We've seen in our little area down in the South Okanagan more and more scholarships that are related to trades.
That's great.
And sometimes it's through our enrichment society, sometimes it's through private donors, and we see more and more. It's in the last 5 years, I've seen an increase probably of almost 100%.
Amazing.
Of the number of opportunities for students where the people that were in industry, people that are maybe still in industry, they recognize the importance of it, and they say, we want to give out money to kids who are going to trades. And when I would sit as a counselor sitting on the panel trying to decide, and we go through the students and we take a look at who's graduating and we take a look at where they're going, and we have this whole spreadsheet about their information and their background, and the students are going into trades, there are a lot of opportunities for them.
Great.
And so we see that in the South. I don't know if that's happening across the province, but I'll tell you, I sure recognize it in the South Okanagan, and I'm very proud of our donors that do that, because it not doesn't force those kids, but it's one more opportunity,
yes,
for them to be moving forward into their trades program.
That's what the kids need at that time. They need to be told, they need to hear, yes, you can do it, go for it.
Absolutely.
And here's some money for you. Go
Absolutely.
for it. We believe in you. You can do it.
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
That's what kids need to hear. Yeah, that's great. I tell people when I run into them, there's never been, I don't think there's ever been a better time to get into the trades. I don't think there ever has been. The amount of stress that's going to be put on these service industries, building, car maintenance, eating out, all of that, the amount of strain that's going to be put on those industries has never been a better time to be a service provider.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And yeah. I think if we use these tradespeople that are out there, if they can tell their story, I think, and be mentors for some of these young people, that does give them that, I guess, that goal. Yeah. And more often than not, kids will listen sometimes to teachers when they'll talk about programs. But if they see somebody that they identify with, if they see somebody that they recognize as a mentor, if they see somebody that they recognize as a hero in their particular world, right, they really strive towards that. We had a chef once, and this goes back a number of years ago. This girl, she was fabulous. And by the time she finished high school, she had completed her level 2. So she did level 1 and level 2 while she was in high school. She came back to see me about a year later. She'd just turned 18, and it was less than a year after she had graduated. She'd finished her level 3 technical training. She had all of her hours, and she wrote her Red Seal exam. And she was actually, it was just right around her 19th birthday, sorry. And just before her 19th birthday, she got her red seal as a chef. And I had a check for her as it was one of the Ministry of Education incentives. So she had all the hours, so she got that. And she just wrote her red seal, and she was one of the youngest chefs in British Columbia.
Amazing.
She went on to do a variety of things. She won, while she was in high school, she won bronze at Skills Canada competition international level. So in terms of skills, that's the other thing that we do. Educators, we take part in Skills Canada competition. So it's where students get to demonstrate their proficiency in a trade, and it's a contest. So, carpenters have to build something, welders have to weld something, chefs, it's like a little black box competition.
Nice.
So she won the local regional one at the Okanagan. Then she went to Vancouver. She won the BCs. So then she went to the national competition, which for her, it was held in Winnipeg that particular year. And she got a bronze medal.
Good for her.
She went on, she's been on MasterChef Canada. And so as a result of her, she's come in a couple times just to talk to students. She's got a big banner in our school showing her national title in terms of being a bronze. And kids look at it and go,
Amazing.
yeah. They say, I want to be that. I want to do that. I want to do what she did.
Isn't it so crazy? We've talked about this before, about how we idolize actors.
Mm-hmm.
Kids idolize actors, like people pretending to be something. When do we start idolizing, like what you've just pointed out, people who actually accomplish something amazing and are useful?
Yeah, it's
like, that's an awesome story.
Yeah, it's really cool. And, and then it spills over. So in the South Okanagan, and again, I'll speak about our region, we've got a lot of wineries and fine dining restaurants.
Yes.
And for a small little rural area, when we look at the South Okanagan, we've got some incredible restaurants.
Yeah.
We're fortunate that the chefs in those restaurants, they open their doors to students. We've got a lot of students working in those restaurants as apprentices. We've got a lot of those chefs then they're the tradesperson. They're the sponsoring tradesperson for these kids. And as a result, we've got kids working in these places. We're kicking it up a whole notch. And I think these kids are taking a look at seeing what's out there and what's available, to them and for them. So they're looking at the chefs in the region as idols. Whether some of the cooking shows on TV, help perpetuate that, I'm not too sure. But we've got some really talented people that work in these in these kitchens, and they're opening their doors. They're bringing kids in, and they're giving them responsibilities, and the kids then, as a result, are bringing value to the restaurant, and it's a win-win for everybody. And they're making money while they're doing it.
Yeah, it is a win-win for everybody. Absolutely. I used to work in that industry, and I remember saying this, and I still say this: if I was in charge of running this country, it would be mandatory that everybody serve in the service industry for at least 2 years. Some countries have like a military requirement.
They have service.
I would make it, because when you're at a restaurant with somebody who's never worked in a restaurant, by the way they talk to the wait staff, by the way they talk about the food or whatever else, it's like, oh, you've obviously never been in the position that this person's in right now to know how difficult of a job this is, what the requirements are, what the stress is like that you bring home with you at times. It's like, not just to say nothing of the ability to learn how to cook for yourself, cook for other people, cook for your family. Like, those are really important skills. Hospitality. So it's a lost art, right? So that's incredible that program's so successful. It's amazing.
Yeah. No, I'm proud of the efforts that we've put in over the years.
Right on.
And as a result, we're seeing the rewards. We've got this year 25 train and trade students. We'll have 10 or at least 10 new apprentices that we've hired on since July 1st. People are getting involved. We're going to exceed our targets in terms of hiring apprentices. We're going to be right on our target in terms of the number of youth train and trade students, the number of students that are getting some exposure at those younger grades to be able to just try a trade, do those types of things. There's a lot of things that a lot of people are working on to try to bring that exposure and to try to raise that exposure level up. And we're starting to see those results. And that's in our district. I'm part of a larger group. When we talk about our consortium, we have an Okanagan consortium where all of us career coordinators work together on similar projects, and we're all doing the same kinds of things. So I think here in the Okanagan, it's a good place to be if you want to become looking in the trades, because every one of the school districts has at least one or two or three career coordinators, and we're all on the same page. We all share resources, and we pick each other's brains about what works, what doesn't work. Any ideas about some of these particular projects, like the Women in Trades Boot Camp program? Well, it's not my idea. It came from one of the neighboring school districts, but we share resources and ideas to be, because in one of the other school districts, he says, this thing worked. These kids had a great time. Oh, how do you do it? Okay. And he gave me all the materials. And then, we have the same thing. We did this elementary trades program, and some of the other districts, well, how does it work? Well, here's the program. And so we all share resources because we all have the same common goal.
That's great. What, I guess one question that has come up previously about stuff like this is, and I've heard multiple answers to this, so I'm not sure what's true. Insurance requirements for employers that may be hesitant to have kids in their industrial scenarios. Who takes on the liability there? I've heard both, that the employer would need to get a certain level of insurance, but then I also heard that the school district potentially provides the insurance for the kids.
So with the insurance, with the liability piece, it's really quite straightforward. To be part of a school program, the employer has to be registered with WorkSafe BC. Mm-hmm. So they have to have a WorkSafe BC account in good standing. So then if a student does just work experience, for example, where they're just dabbling in into a particular area,
not a paid employee,
yes, then the student is covered, as long as the employer has WorkSafe BC, then the student is covered by the school district's insurance and liability.
Okay.
If the student becomes, if we're talking about trades, then if a student becomes an apprentice, they become an employee, then that employer has to have WorkSafe BC.
Yeah, they fall under
the employer.
Employer's insurance umbrella, right. And okay.
So on the work experience component, where students may not know, maybe kids thinking, maybe I want to try to be a carpenter, and they're just dabbling and they're doing it, an hour a day to see if that's something that they want to do, right? Which we do. We have students, if they want to get started in work experience, they go, I think I maybe want to be, okay, here, I'll get you on a construction site for a couple of weeks. Yeah. Not asking the employer to hire them, just gives them some exposure. Try it out. See if that's something you like to do. And if that's the case, then they would fall. The employer has to have WorkSafe BC, and they would just fall under the school district,
which they have anyhow. Yeah. Right. Everyone's gonna have that anyhow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the employers don't want anybody to get hurt, so they're pretty good about that.
No, nobody
wants anybody to be hurt.
No, nobody wants that. Well, Rod, this has been a really great overview and very positive. I'm really grateful that you gave us an insight into this, to see that this work is happening in our community to this scale. I would like to see it scaled up. I think 25 enrollments better than one. Absolutely. But we need, I feel as though we need, a couple hundred kids going through these programs to just, as you say, get a taste. Yeah. Get a taste for it. And I sure hope that that the people that are in charge of funding these see the value in it and continue to throw and invest money at it. So as do I. And I'm, as I said earlier, I'm proud of the work that the people have done, and it's great to see it continue. That's one of the reasons why I'm still back, even though I've retired. I'm back working as in transition to help the person who's replaced me to make sure that things carry on, because there's a lot of moving parts in these kinds of programs. Yes. And I still have a vested interest in how it works. Our school district has a vested interest because they brought me on to help in that transition. And I think most school districts have that same philosophy because they see the value in it. They That's really great. Do. Awesome. Thank you very much for sharing your story with us today.
Fabulous. Thanks for having me.
Thanks a
Appreciate
lot.
it.